We're so excited for today. My name is Fran. I work here at the museum in public programs. This is our Expert Talks platform. I love this platform. This is a series that we developed as an opportunity to do some closer looking, gain a deeper understanding of the objects in our exhibitions, and to gain unique perspectives that you're not going to get off of the museum labels. So I'm honored to be sitting here today with the one and only incredible artist, Beau McCall, also known as the Button Man. I had interviewed Beau on my radio show earlier this year, and we had such a good time. So when the museum offered him this opportunity, he reached out to me and asked me to interview him. So I'll say I am very nervous. I always sit on the other side of the camera. I have a face for radio, but for you, I'll do anything. I love you. I'm glad you're you. I'm glad we're here. So let's just dive into it. You are creative. You are bubbling over with creativity. So how did your artistic journey start, and did it really begin with a jar of buttons?
The jar of buttons was in my mom's basement. I had no idea that jar of buttons was going to lead me to the Met. But early on, for some reason, I got addicted to the buttons. It was just a little small Maxwell House jar of buttons that I would just play with back and forth. And my mom came home with this black sweater one day, and I embellished the sweater, and I wore it out to a club.
How old were you?
I probably was like 19.
Okay.
I wore it to the club, and I got rave reviews, and she came back and had this sweater vest. So I did a sweater vest, and I went back to the club, and the same thing happened. And then maybe a couple months later, I moved to New York with the intent on doing something creative. I just didn't know where and what my creative tribe was going to be. And then I landed at the Black Fashion Institute with Lois Alexander and this guy right here in the striped shirt.
Yeah.
We go way back to that era, and I found my tribe.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. So we're here celebrating Juneteenth. Yay. During your artistic journey, what connections have you discovered between buttons, Black history, and Juneteenth?
Buttons, for some odd reason, is a part of slavery. And they use buttons as identifiers to figure out what plantations the slaves belonged to. So they use buttons as identifiers, which I thought was kind of weird but interesting that you use the button to identify someone's whereabouts and who they belong to because they were property. So yeah.
And so you've taken buttons to a new level.
Well, I always say once I get my hands on the buttons, it's the final destination. Because they're not going to be locked in a closet somewhere. You know, they're going to be somewhere adorning a space, a wall in a museum, a space in your home, what have you, fashion on your back. And the first creations were for myself. So I felt like I was my best model. Because I was meeting people, high-end people that was going to all these big parties and stuff, and they would say, well, if you give me a jacket, I'll wear it to so-and-so's party. I'm like, no, I got an invitation to that same party, I'll wear my own jacket. You know, so it's been like a lot of highs and lows in the journey, but in the journey, I've met so many people along the way, and I'm still having an amazing time with this teeny little button.
I love it. Well, you changed the meaning of buttons to freedom, creativity, artistic.
And then buttons have their own language.
Right.
Because whatever I can't say verbally, the button can say it for me within the piece.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So we're here in front of Romeo Bearden's The Block from 1971, this masterpiece, which you picked specifically for this conversation. Much appreciated. And this you can see on Lenox Avenue between 132nd and 133rd Streets. And you can still see it today. What inspired you to move from Philadelphia to Harlem in 1987 and become part of the Harlem Institute of Fashion?
Well, first of all, I knew nothing about the Harlem Institute
And we're
of
passing
Fashion.
around images too. So we have an image going around of the Harlem Fashion Show with models wearing your wearables. So yeah.
So I chose Harlem because literature, film, poetry, and especially music, because I grew up with a family full of jazz lovers. My parents only played jazz.
I love them.
And then when you read stories about jazz, mostly all the jazz musicians stopped in Harlem and played in clubs in Harlem, the Apollo. So I wanted to be a part of that history. I just didn't know where I fit in as far as the history was concerned. And when I got here, again, I had to find my place. And with the block, with the Harlem Fashion Institute, we used to do fashion shows on 135th Street. So I walked by this block many a times with bags of clothing with my buttons. So this is very special to me, this painting, this collage, yeah.
In a sense, you made it, right? I mean, you're doing fashion shows, walking past.
Well,
the wall,
kind of, sort of. I remember my sister came over to one of the shows that we did in the State Building, and the show was over, and we're walking down 125th, and people were like, "Oh, that's Beau McCall, that's Beau McCall." My sister was like, "He is nobody."
That's family, right?
So,
They'll never let you get too big.
No. I'm still her brother, that's it.
Keep you humble. That's a sister's job. I love it. So wearable art, fashion. Born in Philly, made in Harlem. What is the meaning behind this wearable art and this work?
Born in Philly, I like to say my talent, my craft is homegrown. Everything I learned in Philadelphia. Everything I learned, I grew up in the PJs, in the projects, public housing. Everything I learned there. Day camps, overnight camps, after school programs. And my mom was a big influence on my creativity. A lot of people like to bring up Patrick Kelly. When I was doing buttons, I didn't know who Patrick Kelly was.
Okay.
So, no disrespect to who he is, and you heard me say earlier, there will only be one Patrick Kelly, and there will only be one Beau McCall.
It's true.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Applause for that.
So,
Absolutely.
the influence is not there. The influence is my mom. Like, I watch my mom decorate houses, decorate our little apartment, some of our neighbors.
Did she teach you to sew?
Oh, this is how she taught me to sew. She showed me 3 stitches, right? And my mom would get on the phone with her girlfriends, and she would come to me, and it would be a skirt, a pair of pants, or whatever. And she would say, "Dude, just do this. Just follow the seam, just go straight and do it neat." And she'd be on the phone talking to her girlfriend for about an hour or whatever. And then she'd come back to me, and I'd be finished. She said, "See, I knew you was going to do a great job. Here, take these." So it was a lot of that. And the stuff that she taught me, it never left me. Like when I would go shopping, I was just this poor kid from the PJs. And I was very curious to see how garments were made. So I would go in these little high-end stores, and, "Oh, can I help you?" My mom would say, "You don't have to buy anything. If they ask you anything, just tell them you're looking." And I would be taking jackets off the rack, turning them inside out, looking at seams and all this stuff.
I love it.
And then I would go home and be inspired by what I saw, and not in making exactly what I saw, but it would be something that was in my head that, "Oh, I can do this too."
I love it. Well, your artistic intuition, as you said, your mom brought home a sweater and you embellished it. I mean, I don't know how to do that. You make it sound so easy and natural.
Well, at that point, I really hadn't had a technique. I just took what was before me and I just utilized it. But over a period of time, even with the Black Fashion Institute, I didn't consider myself a designer. I consider myself an artist. Because these people, they were making garments from scratch, right? I was embellishing. I was doing upcycling before upcycling was a thing, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of, I don't want to say they frowned upon me, but they didn't give me the same, I felt like they wasn't giving me the same respect that they were giving everybody else.
Less traditional.
Right. And then, with the little whispers here and there, it was like, "Oh, he just sews buttons. He just sews buttons."
They're jealous.
But a couple months later, somebody I knew somebody at Women's Wear Daily, and I was selected, and I got, I think it was a 3-page spread off of just sewing buttons.
Fabulous, yes.
You know, so it's been, like, again, a lots of highs and lows, but the one thing I can say is that I always stay focused. You know, tragedy, losing friends, losing family, you know, just life just happens. But I stay focused. Most of the stuff, after I stopped dealing with HIF, most of the stuff that I was making was personally for myself and close friends and family, but I never completely stopped creating.
I don't think you could.
No,
right? Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So we're going to pass around the image of the revolution until we're free. How do these pieces connect to the celebration of Juneteenth?
Now, the revolution, I did that with HIF. Actually was first shown in the Black Fashion Museum on 126 in back of the State Building. I can't tell you where and when, but I know it was in there with a matching hat. Cedric can vouch for me. So what I wanted to say in this piece is that you see a lot of folks at the time growing up as a kid, we would turn the TV on and watch all these horrible clips from people down south being harassed by the police. But then you get up in the city, you know, the protest was a different kind of protest. So I created this jacket that you could protest in style. And, you know, hopefully, like, it was a lot of people documenting these moments in history that you could be documented and be protesting and making a statement with your voice and with your outfit.
Love it. Yeah, powerful.
Yeah, so that's how that came about.
That's fabulous. And is it passed around? Okay, good. Make sure everyone can see what we're talking about. And then the conversation. So we're going to pass around the image of the conversation. How did the Harlem Renaissance, and in particular Langston Hughes, inspire this piece? And please describe how you activated the conversation. And what was important as we reflect on this legacy of Juneteenth?
Well, the conversation is based on the poem, the I Too poem, right? And having a seat at the table. And, you know, I've been doing buttons 40 plus years, and a lot of folks think I have arrived, that I'm on a certain level. In my head, I'm just still Beau McCall, right? I feel like I'm in the room, but I'm not at the table yet. Like, I'm being seen, and just in recent years, I'm being heard. But I still got some steps to move forward, to sit down at the table and voice my story, my background, where I come from, and how I got from point A to point B.
How will you know when you've made it to the table?
I guess it would just be a feeling, because right now, you know, I'm seeing people all day. It's like, oh my God, you're famous. And then my nieces and nephews is like, oh, Uncle Beau, you're famous. I'm like, no, not yet. Not yet. So I think it will probably be a feeling.
Okay.
That I'll know.
Okay.
You know, but I feel like, you know, I'm struggling. I'm still struggling. Every day is a new challenge. Every day we're knocking on new doors. Every day new doors are opening. Like, I would have never imagined that I would be sitting right here in the corner of the night having this conversation.
I feel like that's an artist's answer.
Yes. So, you know,
yeah.
I'm enjoying all my moments. Because it's been a long time coming, and you know, I've survived lots of things. Like, speaking of like losing people, like all my friends died. I'm the only one that's still standing, and then, you know, in some of my work, I'm dedicating some of the works to them and the life experiences that I have with them.
Didn't you have a show recently?
Yeah, I have a show in Boston called Rewind, Memories on Repeat.
Okay.
Which is about 10 of my deceased closest friends. Like, they are part of molding and building the person that I've become.
Do you see them in your art?
Now I do.
Yeah.
Because I can remember one of my friends, Trey, he still lived in Philly, and he would come over on occasions, and we would get drunk as a skunk in my apartment. And then we would always say to each other, who's going to be the last one to tell the story? Because at that time, it was just us two.
Wow.
And it ended up being me.
Wow. That's
So,
a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. I used all that energy in the Rewind project to sort of keep their legacy alive.
It's so important. We're grateful that you do.
And then that project was really, really painful.
Yeah. Was it therapeutic?
It was therapeutic. I laughed and cried through the whole entire process.
Sure.
And then another friend of mine, the day that we actually started the program, I lost another friend. So it was crazy.
Life.
But I got through it.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do now is celebrate them every Pride.
Beautiful. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So after 40 years, you first came to Harlem, you've been nationally touring, you have a retrospective, Buttons On,
Mm-hmm.
it's on now. What do you hope viewers receive from the show, and what can we look forward to in the future?
Well, for Buttons On, you know, it's a retrospective. It's 40 plus years of work.
It's beautiful.
And if people can get to Brockton, Massachusetts to see it, I want you to walk away to tap into your own inner creativity and see what you can come up with. And a lot of folks, you look at my work and it's fun, it's happy, it's joyous, but underneath all those buttons, it's a lot of messaging going on. Some of the stuff is very heartfelt, some of the stuff is very painful, but I have the opportunity to use my voice in the work. Now, I'm not one of them artists, I'm not the poster child for everything. You know what I'm saying? I'm the poster child for my experience.
Yes.
So that's what I talk about.
Yeah, beautiful, and you do it so well.
That's right.
Does anyone have any questions for Beau?
I'd like to ask Beau about your beautiful mistakes. And, that's the moniker that I've always recognized you because I had never heard anything like that. And your latest beautiful mistake is the triple T-shirt.
Yes.
Have you mixed the buttons with the triple T-shirt as yet?
Good question.
Not yet. I think those are two different things. They both make statements in their own right, but I think the triple T can stand on its own. Again, that's how, when people ask me how I came up with the triple T, this is my beautiful mistake. I had about 100 T-shirts that this one, my partner, wanted me to get rid of. And I'm a pack rat. That's something else I got from my mom. And before I get rid of anything permanently, I try to figure out how I can give it another life. So I sewed 2 shirts together. They were P-Funk, George Clinton shirts. Nothing happened. I went to see George Clinton the next year, bought another shirt, and added the 3rd shirt. And when I went out, the magic, that's how the beautiful mistake happened. And people just started commenting on the shirt, and I started making them for myself. And then this one again, you're making all these shirts, you just piling shirts up. You just connected the shirts that were piling up. What are you gonna do? So from there, I had never did the pop-up thing. So I started doing pop-ups, and I started meeting other creatives, and it just came together. So, and this lady right here, she has David Bowie on.
And you wear it so well. And there's 6 different ways that you could wear these shirts.
And probably more if you go and play with it.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, that's my definition of a beautiful mistake. And even within the buttons, I had to learn my techniques. I had to learn my process. There was no blueprint for me to say, oh well, let me pattern myself after this person because they work with buttons. And even with Patrick Kelly, we're not doing the same thing. Patrick Kelly is in a whole fashion realm, making a garment from scratch. I'm recycling, repurposing, upcycling, and I'm coming from an artistic point of view where I'm trying to have a language and a voice within the buttons. Does that answer your question, Cedric?
That's all.
So you mentioned that you're in the room, but you're not at the table.
Yes.
And you referenced your family saying, "But you're famous," and you're saying, "Ah." So when you are at the table, what will the world know from you? What will show you I'm at the table because the world knows and hears this from me? What is that for you?
Well, I think in life, just for instance, everybody in this room, we all come from the same place. We're all human, but we all don't have the same, no, we have the same human experience, but depending on our background, where we come from, who raised us, geographically, how we were sort of raised and what we're influenced by, your story is unique. So I'm gonna bring my own personal, unique story to the table. Now I can't tell you exactly what that would be, but I'm not like anybody in here. And if you look at the person next to you, you're not like any one of these people. But we still live and breathe the same air. And we still have some common ground. We walked here, some of us skipped here, however you got here. But you used your feet to get here. So we have some common experiences. But I think with people in general, everybody's experience is unique. Because I used to say, for myself, when people started taking notice to my work, I was like, why they want to talk to me? I don't have a story. And a lot of people are attracted to tragedy. And most of my life has not been tragic. Like, I came from a loving background. I don't know what it is to the pain that some of the people that I've came across in my life. I have not experienced that. And I remember as a kid when my neighbors, they was listening to Motown. When you knocked on our door, it was just jazz, right? And it used to be this portion used to come on the radio at night called the love portion. I was a kid. I couldn't stand them songs. And when I got older, I was like, oh, because I hadn't experienced love. So I couldn't relate to none of the stuff that they was talking about. So then as I got older, and I had my little ups and downs, the highs and lows, I was like, oh, I love that song. That kind of thing. So when I get at the table, I'm going to have a voice. I just don't know what the voice is going to be.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'd like to ask you how you know when a piece is finished, as you're sort of paving your own path. When you're working on a piece and you're in that moment, how do you know when it's finished and ready to be released to the world?
That's a hard question to answer because I have been in shows where we're in the gallery or we're in the museum and I have like bags and pockets full of buttons and needles and thread in my pocket and they're placed and they're hanging and stuff and I'm still sewing buttons. I'm still sewing buttons. So it's not finished until the last button gets down, but only my eye can see that when I'm in the process of it.
Have you showed things you felt weren't finished?
I wouldn't say they weren't finished. Some pieces I love more than others. If you
Okay.
ask me on a particular day, I'll say this is my favorite piece, and you ask me 2 days ago or 2 hours later, I'll say no, that one is my favorite. Because creating is like having kids, right? So they're like my kids.
Yeah.
Some get special attention.
Some cause trouble.
And, some cause trouble, and some you overlook
Right.
for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But all in all, from start to finish, I enjoy what I do. I just didn't know that I was going to be addicted to buttons.
It's a fabulous addiction.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Beau. One of the things when I think of Langston Hughes, and I think of I Too Sing America, and I think of When Company Comes, I'm in the Kitchen, and the way you were raised, the community centers, the after-school programs, And that kind of becomes the legacy. And so how are we, Beau, Buttons, how are we creating this legacy for, and what I love is that you're still very vibrant and so very available. And how is your legacy available for young people, the way those after-school programs were available to you, those mentors and the influences? Because I know even from your work, you attract young people. A lot of young people are doing your work. And I don't want to say copying, they are learning and they're doing their own authenticity with the t-shirts and with maybe other things. But how is that passed on? How is that passing on right now in your life?
Well, lately I've been doing workshops. Last week I did a workshop for teachers for the New York City School Board, which was interesting because I'm not a child person. So I did this workshop, and I've done quite a few so far. So, you know, in the beginning, Solio will tell you, do you want to do so and so and so? And my first reaction is, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But once I get in the moment and I feel the energy, I can move forward. So I'm in the room with the teachers, and they all were creative. They all got it. We were doing button neckwear jewelry. They all got it to pass on to their students, right? So I think I'm gonna be doing more of that. It's probably take me a minute to actually get with the kids, because it's a different breed of children today. Like, it wasn't like the kids when I was growing up. That's not to say that we didn't have our little issues, but for the most part, being a kid, and then I was a shy kid, I think those programs gave me confidence. And somewhere along the line, I'm gonna give somebody else confidence. I feel it coming. You know.
You're at the table.
Yes.
And I think you have. I think you've given confidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, that was really hard for me because I was so shy. I just didn't know how to reveal myself. And then, you know, it was a lot of underlayers of being who I am that I wasn't ready to expose. Dealing with my sexuality, dealing with being the firstborn, dealing with not knowing how to say no, being in certain rooms where I was uncomfortable and I didn't know how to leave. You know, all these things just gradually happened. I've just been blessed that the ancestors, they have my back, and they're still whispering in my ear right now. So that I must pass on to the next generation, because somebody was there for me. And I said to him earlier, most of my life it's been women who helped me to the next level. Now, with the men, I would say my gay friends, but it's mostly been men. The little jobs that I had, neighbors, people in the community, just in passive. It's just been women. It's like, you can do it, 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 you can do it. And to hear somebody tell you that you're special, like, I heard that from my family, but when you hear it outside of the family, it's like, oh, something must be going on. They see something that I don't see. So I just continued. And then I started, you know, embracing myself. This is why I can sit here and have this conversation with you all today. Because if you had asked me this 20 years ago, I'd be like, no, I know it's meant, but I can't do it. Now it's like, okay, give me the share. You know, so it's been levels and levels and levels. And I'm still climbing the ladder. But now I'm comfortable climbing the ladder. And hopefully, you know, one day some kid will say, oh, well, you know, Beau, such and so and so. I saw this and this happened because of you. Because I remember I was in high school and I was in this business class. And Mr. Houck, I'll never forget him, everybody in the class got a job, but we all got different kinds of jobs. So I was a stock boy in this shirt company. And, you know, we come back, we had a conversation about what we were doing and how much we were getting paid. I think I was making like $1.35 an hour, whatever. So Mr. Houck said to us, whatever you're getting paid, that's all you're worth. So I'm worth more than $1.35. So I immediately got out of his class. And I went to Miss Jones, which was another one of those ladies, and I explained to her that, you know, I was a creative, that I was not good with a pencil or a paintbrush. I was more of a crafty person. And she accepted me in her class, and a couple days later, she took me to this surplus place, and we bought all these supplies, and we came back to the class, and she sat me in a corner by myself and said, you work on this. And it was completely different from what the other class was doing. And I felt like she identified with me and what I was going through. And when I did my first gallery showing in Philadelphia, she came. And I hadn't seen Miss Jones in about 25 years. Yeah, but she was a big influence on me. And again, like, these women, they just be popping up out of the place. And if like, you need me, I got you. And they're still popping out. Francesca, they're still popping up.
I appreciate you.
So I'm good.
So what do we look forward to in the future?
In the future.
And how do people support you? Plug everything.
BeauMcCall.com, Beau McCall on the gram, Beau McCall on Facebook. There will be bigger and better projects coming in the future. The retrospective is going on tour. When we leave Massachusetts, we're going to San Francisco. After San Francisco, we're coming back to the East Coast to Connecticut. And then we're going home to Philly. And then we're going to Detroit. So I'm going to try to milk at least 10 years out of this retrospective. So it's a lot happening from this retrospective. I'm meeting a lot of folks, and a lot of doors are starting to open fully instead of crack.
So you can get to the table.
Yes, and I'm ready now. So I'm ready. And then Solio is my forever friend, my partner, my lover, my muse, my everything. And if it wasn't for him, half of this stuff would not be happening. Because he makes me see the light. So, you know, lately people have been trying to steal him from me.
Everybody wants a
Yeah, it's
Solio.
like, oh, if you can do that for Beau, what can you do for me? You know. So, you know, I waited half of my life for him to show up. And, you know, I'm grateful that I was present to receive it.
On that note, how beautiful. What a beautiful way to close. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Beau, we love you. Keep doing all the good things you do.